In essence, what we're about to do with the one-page business plan is sort of about telling stories as well, but it's telling stories in a different way. It's telling stories to our team and building the story of what we're trying to sell to ourselves to complete. It's all about building the one-page business plan. And the one-page business plan is about making sure that everyone in the business is on the same page, is everyone's pulling towards the same goals and to achieving the same thing. So a book I'm going to refer to in the last section that we've got today, which is the productivity piece, is a book that I've just recently read called Indistractable. Really good book, really like it. But one of the things it talks about in this particular area of our life and our business is that it talks about what causes depression in the workplace. And the number one thing that causes depression in the workplace is not feeling in control of your goals or your destiny. So if your team don't feel like they've got any influence over the goals or how you achieve them or the destiny of the business, then ultimately that is what is going to drive depression, kind of loss of engagement, loss of motivation, loss of productivity. And also if they're not feeling rewarded for the efforts that they give. That was the two things that are primary causes of depression in the workplace: not feeling control of the goals or destiny, and also not feeling like they're being rewarded for their efforts. So I think if you want to get your team on board and on the same page and growing and moving forward and helping you achieve the things that are important to you in business, you've got to get them on the same page, and the one-page business plan is the best way I have found to do that. And the one-page business plan is built up on a whole series of different things. And I think this is something that I would encourage you, whilst I'm going to give you the chance to make a crack at this today. Again, this is something that you're going to want to evolve, and I'd encourage you to evolve this with your leadership team. Obviously, if it's just you guys running the business, then it'll be just you that builds the one-page business plan. But ultimately, if you've got a leadership team, I'd really encourage you to build this out on your leadership approach. And some of this is taken from EOS and the work that Gino Wickman puts into Traction, but some of it's taken from some other places as well. And so hopefully there's we're going to look at each of the different elements of the one-page business plan. So the first thing is you've got to be really clear on what everybody is doing within the business, what the core focus of the business is. It's very easy as entrepreneurs, and I know we did the Kolbe concept earlier in a couple of workshops ago. Steve, I know you wouldn't have seen the Kolbe concept, but it'd be worth you going back and watching that particular piece. The Kolbe A index is a massively powerful tool in terms of building a team that works closely together. But the reason I mentioned the Kolbe concept is for those of you that have got a high quick start, and most entrepreneurs have a high quick start, it's very easy to get distracted by other shiny things, or squirrels, as they seem to get called in certain circles. And so it's very easy to get distracted by the next shiny thing or the next squirrel. And actually, it's really important that you each quarter are just kind of reminding yourself of what's the core focus of the business. What is the clear single place that we're aiming for? And we may do some other things, but only if they help us achieve the core focus of the business. So it's really important that the one-page business plan covers the core focus. And I think one of the things that the one-page business plan is also doing is it's kind of helping people see the bigger picture, helping them see the things that they maybe won't actually achieve themselves within that business, but the bigger future of the business. And this is especially important for your team, because so for the analogy I use here is that when Tesla created the electric car, they made almost all of their technology, which was like absolutely incredible technology, and all of their kind of intellectual property, they made it open source. So essentially, a car company in China could go off and start building the exact same car as Tesla. But the reason they did it was because they weren't doing it just to make Tesla better. They were doing it to make the whole electric car driving world better, because they could see that was the bigger picture. That was what was pulling them towards their goal. So I think it's really important that one of the roles of the one-page business plan is kind of helping the leadership team, but also everyone within the team see that bigger picture. And in fact, it's like the analogy of giving away the cure to polio. You're essentially planting seeds that you may never see mature by setting up a big future for the company. And one of the ways you can set up that big future for the company is using the concept of a moonshot. So moonshot, the terminology originally comes from the Apollo and Soviet lunar programs aiming to land humans on the moon. And it was obviously JFK at the time saying that we will get onto the moon by the end of the decade. Ultimately, that has more recently been coined as a business term by Astro Teller, who was head of Google X, which was the kind of creative, innovative part of Google. And he started using the term moonshot in that this one single kind of laser-like focus that the business should be having on this big dream in the future. It often also gets called a greatest imaginable challenge by other people in the business world. But essentially what it is it's trying to align everyone in the business with one single goal. As if we can create one single moonshot within each business, you might actually eventually get some buy-in from your team. Because somebody once said to me, and I've probably said it here before, but just when you think you're going blue in the face explaining your business goals to your employees, that's the point at which they're just starting to get it. So the simpler it is, and the more times you can repeat it, the more they buy in, the more they know where they're going, and the more likely they are to help you get there. There's a saying here that fear of failure sucks, but working on something that you don't care about sucks even more. So the moonshot is about giving them the underlying purpose of why they're doing what they're doing. So if they're doing a mundane job that really is not that exciting within the business, if they know that that is a small part of helping 1 million people grow their business, or 1 million people or 1,000 people do this, or to create the solution that does this, it's way more compelling. It's what gets them out of bed. It's what gets them motivated. It's what gets them going above and beyond what they would just do ordinarily for their work. So if we can create a single moonshot for each business, and I know, so I'm doing a leadership meeting with Ian and Sarah next week. One of the things I'm going to be asking you guys to think about is, what is the moonshot of the business? Because, and hopefully between now and then you can have come up with something, but the simpler that single moonshot is, the more you can get everyone to buy into it, including clients when you tell them about it. So one of the other things I think that the one-page business plan allows you to highlight is that that we want to spend more time doing what makes us come alive. So we don't want to do what you think the world needs. We want to do the thing that makes you come alive. The more time you can spend doing the thing that makes you come alive. This comes back to a little bit of what Matt was saying earlier on, and what we've talked about in the delegate compound earlier on, and getting into flow. Because if the world needs more people that do what makes them come alive, and this is what we're trying to align the business with. And ultimately, what we're trying to do with the one-page business plan is help our team understand what their goals are. So when I explained goal setting in previous workshops, I used the run, walk, run analogy of the fact that we run for 9 minutes, walk for 1 minute, and breaking up that goal setting approach. This is exactly how we should use the one-page business plan, not just with us as a leadership team, but also with the team. Because if we get our team constantly revisiting and resetting goals, again, they get the buy-in, they get the renewed energy of, what I described before was that really we can only stay motivated towards a goal for about 90 days. So every 90 days, we need to be back with the team going, right, okay, and here's the goals that we need to achieve over the next 90 days. Get them excited and energized and enthused. And so it's exactly the same approach in business as it is in personal, in that we if we want to achieve amazing lifetime goals, we need to have really clear, measurable, specific 3-year goals for the business. And within that, if we want to achieve those 3-year goals, we need to know what we've got to do this year to achieve those 3 years, what we've got to do this quarter to achieve that year's goals, and what we've got to do this month. I personally then break it down into month and week. But as a business, every quarter we've got to be revisiting that year's goals and go, well, what have we got to do this quarter as a business? And it's one of the reasons why EOS and Traction is so brilliant, because it creates that culture in the business of, right, every quarter we sit down, we do the leadership meeting, we all work out what the next set of rocks are, as Gino calls them, goals to everyone else. And we work out what those quarters goals need to be to hit the 1-year goals that we set at the start of the year. And that's what we can achieve through the one-page business plan. It might be that if you're already kind of following EOS to the letter, you have your own version of this document. But if we just want to remember that, ultimately, if we create amazing weeks, they'll turn into awesome months, which will turn into incredible quarters, which turns into sensational years, and they turn into sublime decades. And with regards to that kind of quarter mindset or 90-day mindset, 1% of your 25-year goals is this quarter. So you've got an opportunity to move 1% further through your 25-year goals, the long-term goals this quarter. So you've got to be thinking, it's all about bringing it back to today. So one of the other things that we need to bring into the one-page business plan is why we do what we do. We've talked a little bit about this in one of the early workshops, but I suspect a few of you weren't at that one. We've got to be really clear why we do what we do in business. I know Simon Sinek talks about start with why. In the podcast, I see this repeatedly, whether it's John McAvoy going from being incarcerated in Britain's top maximum security prison by the age of 21 or 22, something like that, and going on to becoming a Nike-sponsored Ironman athlete and helping youngsters avoid making the mistakes that he made, or whether it's Damien Hall, the ultra runner, motivating himself to get through these 100-mile runs around Mont Blanc by thinking about his children. If we're absolutely clear what our why is, why we're doing what we're doing, and we communicate it to our clients and our team, we have a much better chance of getting them to buy into it. Mark mentioned earlier Viktor Frankl. The saying I always take from that book is, he who knows his why can tolerate almost any how. So if your team know why they're doing what they're doing, which is all about being clear on the why, but being clear on the moonshot, then they will achieve so much more for you because they understand the meaning behind it. It's not, I'm doing this task because my boss told me to. I'm doing this task because this is one step towards achieving this amazing goal that we're all striving to do together. And then one of the final pieces of the one-page business plan is a principle that is taken from Traction, which is, so each quarter what we need to be doing is thinking about, well, what are the issues that are going on? So essentially, similar to the evaluation spotlight, what's working and what's not working is one of the questions that we always ask at those quarterly meetings. And what's not working goes on to an issues list. And so once you've kind of identified the goals within the business, then you need to sit down and go, well, okay, right, these are the issues. How do we've identified the issues now. We need to discuss, but most importantly, solve them. We need to come up with a strategy that solves each of those issues. And that's what the one-page business plan is all about.